Yeah, they want to demonize the red pill. It's the same reason I'm put on a DHS watch list. All right, let me do this. Okay.
So if I'm going to say no, I'm going to say no. If I'm going to disagree, I'm going to disagree. And men not going through the natural maturation process as teenagers, as early adults, because they literally don't have the opportunity to with women. We can't be shocked anymore that there's an environment that's festering of boys and young men who unfortunately have a strong distaste. And I would argue, not even for women in general, women in the Western cultures and countries.
Yeah.
This is why they're running to the other countries and cultures where men are at least still seen as valuable, relevant, important.
No, I think they're all very good point.
Yeah.
I think that like anything in the West, to redress any imbalance in anything, we've had to go to some crazy level to the other side and come to a middle thing. And
the only thing I have to say to my ex is, damn, you got fat. Well, that'd be pretty funny. Imagine. So Steve M in the chat. Hello, let's say your name's Diane. Hello, Diane. I have a message from Steve M, and he wants you to know that you look like a beluga whale now. And he's glad he got out when he could because he got you when you were thin. And good luck to the simp that puts up with that. That would be pretty funny. That'd be a pretty good... I'll drop it to 5K, this show, PayPal me, hannahpearldavis@gmail.com. Send me a PayPal this show. It's in the divorce documentary. It's in the, I know you guys are thinking, Pearl, why do you charge so much money? Look, guys, do you know what it costs to put a documentary? Do you know what this stuff costs? I have to hire editors, producers, lighting people. I know what you're thinking, Pearl, but you in England, you said you were working at Will. We were. I had one guy that messed it up. I'm going to be honest. I made one bad choice that wasted money. Sometimes when you're putting something together, that was one. Two, the second issue that we had was that I got demonetized. So now we're raising money for it. In a few months, I might be able to put it together myself, but I'm not supposed to say that, but yeah, okay.
Why are we so surprised? Why do we have to have shows like Adolescence that, quite frankly, are pretty late in the game in terms of culture? We're very late in the game. And like you said, I talk to quite a lot of my friends, who are all parents, and they had no idea I knew about it. I'm doing this podcast and I see these comments all the time, and I was very aware of it. I've read a lot about it. I had no idea about it. And I'm like, you have teenage children and young adult children. How do you not know? How are you that ill-informed? I agree with you. To me,
you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you want to know what's crazy? When you're in a market and environment where both parents got to work long hours, but it's wildly off in most ways in which they try to categorize what's actually going on. I'm being honest with you. And the problem with it is several things. But the first is they clearly did not use an expert on incel culture. Any expert go on YouTube when you get the chance and type in incel experts review adolescence and see all the data they have in comparison to how the show tried to cover it to a degree. And it was only 4 episodes, so there was only but so much, of course, that they could do. But I'm going to tell you one thing that I loved and I think they did get right. And it was very subtle, and I don't know if people actually picked it up enough. The first is when the 2 detectives were walking through...
This is a rattlesnake raid? Oh. Tell Jake I said thank you.
Yeah.
And they're trying to engage with the students, and it's very clear, like, they're just missing it. Students aren't saying anything. Nobody's really wanting to work with them. Like, they're just getting all this resistance. They're not really getting anywhere in terms of their investigation. And the lead detective, after he talks with his son, and his son talks about the red pill and And he's asking his son, did you see the Matrix? And his son's like, what's the Matrix? Like, what are you talking? Like, and they captured the confusion of people who aren't in it.
Yes.
Won't do this for a living, who aren't psychologists, who aren't psychiatrists, who aren't in mental health, who aren't in these spaces. Even people who are talking about it all the time. If you're not in it, you don't actually get it. When I talked about that mountaintop thing, you don't know what it's like to be considered invisible and useless to both men and women. You don't get it.
Damn. See, she's like, I don't care. Because women will always be useful to some degree, because you're a whole. Someone will do it.
You don't know that feeling. I don't care if you're the most unattractive. If you saw the show, what was it, My 400, 500-pound Life or something like that, with these people, where they got to get cranes and break down doors to move these people. Why all these women got men?
What?
Oh, that's funny.
Great question. I've always
Because still, as a woman by default, she's still going to have value with some man.
Wow. But at a certain age.
She's still, but again, if the first 60 years of you living, you're seen as valuable to somebody, that matters. Versus in comparison, you can go your entire life and be considered a genetic dead end.
That is actually so interesting.
Yeah.
So on the show, these are lead detectives whose job it is to learn, to question, think of things on multiple levels. And they had no idea that there's a subculture of bullying and ostracization amongst not just boys doing this to each other, but on social media, other people who you may not even know also saying things about you, also targeting you. And it's not.
Yeah, and it never ends. I mean, there's that kid who committed suicide because his nude got leaked or something to someone in Nigeria, and they extradited them and put him in prison. That's amazing. Just
the bullying and the tactics. It's also the shaming. It's also the rejection. It's also being seen as invisible. And it's a very, very, very hard way. It's a very hard concept to try to describe to people who, for most of their life, or they have yet to experience what it means to be invisible since they were 14 years old.
Right. Yeah.
They don't know what that feeling is. And I thought the show did a really good job of the parents didn't see it.
Yeah.
The detectives didn't know it. But the second piece I thought they got really great was when they found out, oh, snap, the kid's being targeted, the kid's being bullied. The victim apparently was a contributing member of this, and she was leading the charge. And the things that she would say and the viciousness of how they were treating this boy, I'm not going to say what he did was justified. Spoiler alert for those who didn't watch the show. If you didn't, it's your fault by now.
Yeah, exactly.
But the callous response that the woman investigator had when he tried to bring it to her attention, like, I think there's more that's going on with this case. And she said, I just want the attention to be on the victim, on the girl. And what I would suggest is there were two victims. It's just that one died.
Right.
One lost their life and one lost their freedom potential.
Well, you notice that whenever women die, it's always the national headlines. But when men die, no one cares. People don't have a lot of sympathy when men pass away, really.
For the rest of their lives. And what happens is that small little snippet is an example of the larger pool of what's going on. Yes, he did something wrong. Yes, he's the murderer. Yes, he needs to be incarcerated. I agree with all of that, obviously. But the environment that created someone like that, we're so oblivious to the realities and perspectives of what young boys and men are going through. You don't get it that for many men, they don't see feminism. Doesn't matter if they don't have the great working definition of it. Their experience of all these people who claim that identity, you don't actually care about equality. That's a woman advocacy movement, or at least was up until recent debates about who can or can't be a woman. But prior to this debate, it's always been, for many people, and particularly many men, it's more so a women advocacy program, which is totally fine. But you cannot say that you care about men and that you're advocating for equality. And I'm going to list these things off, and I wrote them down to make sure I don't forget it. You don't care about mandatory paternity tests. You don't care about paternity fraud. You don't care about male suicide rates. You don't care about equalizing hard, laborious jobs outside. You don't want to equalize that. You don't care about what happens to people that are falsely accused, which is almost always exclusively men. You don't actually care about the declining school performance, the rise in ADHD diagnosis, and the psychiatric medication that comes from it. You don't care about the lack of homeless shelters for men. You don't care about the weaponization of the family court, the equal custodial rights, reproductive say for men, reduction in child support and alimony, pathologizing of just men and masculinity in general, negative attitudes towards even men that want a nuclear family. You don't think or care about any of these things. And I'm not even saying it's just the feminists that don't care about it.
Nobody
I'm
cares.
saying most people who don't do what I do don't care about this at all. And you're creating, and we talked about this 80-20 rule. What's happening to the 80%? You don't care.
Not good.
And the beauty is, if I just get the man I want, if I just get the partner I want, if I just, I don't care. I don't care about what's happening with men. Let's bring the attention back to women. That's what the detective did in that show.
Right.
And that is what society in Western cultures is unfortunately like. Most people only care about males or boys or men if they are their brother, their son, or their father, or their uncle, or their close friend.
As most of you know, I have been fighting on the front lines of the simp epidemic for years, but I need to tell you about a quiet weapon being ratcheted up against men that is rarely talked about. It's not just the relentless anti-masculinity propaganda and OnlyFans hoes causing the societal issues that we discuss on this show. Did you know that the average city's tap water contains trace pharmaceuticals and endocrine disruptors? This often includes estrogen from birth control. The average adult consumes a credit card worth of plastic every single week. That's 5 grams of plastic a week on average. So it's no wonder that the average male's testosterone is half of what the average was 50 years ago. Testosterone levels decline 1% a year, and without a course correction, we are headed towards extinction. No matter how based you are, you need to be naturally boosting your testosterone. My friends at Chalk, CHOQ.com, are on a mission to save mankind from extinction by boosting your vitality. Chalk's Male Vitality Stack contains premium and potent herbs clinically studied to naturally boost your testosterone levels, sperm count, and overall vitality. Just one of the many ingredients in the Male Vitality Stack was studied in double-blind human clinical trials to boost total testosterone 20% in 90 days. When you boost your testosterone, you'll have more mental clarity, you're more capable of making decisions and taking risks. Having high testosterone will also affect your pheromones, so women will find you more attractive subconsciously. Get the Chalk Male Vitality Stack right now on Chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. Use my name Pearl as your coupon code and you'll get 25% off site-wide on Chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. My name Pearl is the discount code.
This society, in the quest to be fair to women, to improve their rights, allow the worst representatives to take it to its furthest extreme.
Right.
When we talk so much about misogyny, most women can't tell you what the term is for a strong distaste and hatred for men. What's the term? What's
Misandry.
the misandry? Being a misandrist. Most men's experiences that we keep labeling as incels, we keep labeling as misogynists, their experiences in coworker situations, in the schools, dating, on dating apps, is that a lot of women are either misandrous or they're so reductionistic of men that if you don't have the money, you have no say and you need to shut up. And even if you do have the money, it's happy wife, happy life once I'm in your life.
Yeah.
I done told my wife, we joke around about it all the time. When we're amongst other couples and friends, she sarcastically say all the time, the one thing I appreciate about Jeff more than anything is he's the same exact person in home as he is in public. Right. He doesn't change. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to say no, I'm going to say no. If I'm going to disagree, I'm going to disagree. And men not going through the natural maturation process as teenagers, as early adults, because they literally don't have the opportunity to with women. We can't be shocked anymore that there's an environment that's festering of boys and young men who unfortunately have a strong distaste. And I would argue, not even for women in general, women in the Western cultures and countries. Yeah. This is why they're running to the other countries and cultures where men are at least still seen as valuable, relevant, important.
No, I think
he just cooked. Oh my gosh, and they don't care. They don't care at all. She's got at least a little bit of sympathy eyes. This woman does not care.
Yeah. I will break a point.
Yeah.
I think that like anything in the West, to redress any imbalance in anything, we've had to go to some crazy level to the other side and come to a middle thing. And why are we so surprised? Why do we have to have shows like Adolescence that, quite frankly, are pretty late in the game in terms of culture? We're very late in the game. And like you said, I talk to quite a lot of my friends, who are all parents. And they had no idea I knew about it. I'm doing this podcast and I see these comments all the time and I was very aware of it. I've read a lot about it. They had no idea about it. And I'm like, you have teenage children and young adult children. How do you not know? How are you that ill-informed? I agree with you. To me,
you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but you want to know what's crazy? When you're in a market and environment where both parents got to work long hours, and both parents are out of the home for extended periods of time, and both parents have to figure out so much, and you don't even have one parent that's like really super involved, versus they both are kind of got 40-hour work schedules, and one may have to do additional overtime, and the cost of living is exploding. It's harder than ever before.
Oh yeah.
For parents, men and women, fathers and mothers, it's a lot harder now. We are living in an area in New Jersey where our property taxes per month is the cost of most people rent across the world.
Yeah. Most.
Where our daycare is more than the cost for daycare for 1 to 2 kids is the equivalent of what 50 to 60% of people in the world make.
Yeah,
so it's
women don't
difficult.
Women don't want to watch their kids. They got to make as much as their husband to feed their ego.
Be super duper involved and actually know what's going. You know what she saw? My son's home. He turns the light off when I tell him to turn the light off, and he doesn't get in trouble. He goes to school every day. He gets good grades. Parents are just surviving. Mothers, fathers, people are just trying to figure this. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying it's a complete. Like there's no, they get no fault, they get no blame. I'm just saying that the context for what we're in is what's also creating this type of dynamic and environment. So and then lastly, I meant to say, the dynamic, why is this exploding and why is it so big in the UK? And why are these government officials getting all involved in this? I'm gonna tell you this right now. If you are a young...
How did I not get arrested in the UK? I don't know.
Woman, or woman, period.
I'm a woman, right?
And you're thinking about, well, oh my gosh, this incel thing, and all these men want to harm me and hurt me and do this or do that. A huge percentage of the boys and men that feel that way, there's a reason why they're leading the statistics of being 4 times more likely to take their own life.
Right.
They're actually far more of a danger to themselves
than to anybody else.
Even in a relationship. You take a woman who's in a relationship with a man and a relationship with a woman, her domestic violence rates is significantly higher with another woman than with a man.
Really?
DV rates are up. Divorce rates are up. When same-sex relationships between 2 women than her with a man.
I know. The highest divorce rate is lesbian couples.
Yeah, and so is the DV rate.
What's the D?
They should be having the most orgasms. That's unbelievable.
Domestic violence.
Yeah,
DV rate.
Right.
Yeah. So again, the show is so popular, it's so big, probably 250,000 plus people are probably going to watch it. And now they're again adding to this narrative that the most unsafe you can be is dealing with and doing life with men or males. And what I'm arguing is a huge percentage of them end up taking their own life. A very, very small percentage of them, if they get successful enough, end up finding a suitable partner, or they're going abroad to find a
Women are actually the passport bros. Most female travelers are women. So
a woman who can meet their needs. So it's not to say that there's violence between men and women that doesn't exist. Of course it's a thing. All I'm suggesting is that the show, there may be ulterior motives for why the show is being pushed.
Yeah, they want to demonize the red pill. It's the same reason I'm put on a DHS watch list. Me, of all people.
Whenever politicians or celebrities or anybody who's not a normal person jumps in on a wave, always be wary of what's the thing that they're pushing and what's the policy that's going to come down as a result of this. Is this going to be a social media crackdown? Is this going to be a monitoring thing where people have to register their social ID numbers or something in order for them to even have access to a website or have access to the internet? I'm going to argue this. Prime time, it's perfect to push something like this in a political environment when Gen Z and some millennials between men and women are splitting further than they've ever been. And then you have a huge pool of women who are looking for explanations to justify why all these men are splintering off and voting differently than us, thinking differently than us, going their own way.
Yeah, we're not nice to them. If you've treated men like shit for 20 years, we get surprised when they respond to open misandry.
Marry women. There's got to be some explanation for it. And it can't possibly be because of our decision making, our hierarchy of what we're attracted to or not attracted to. It can't be us. It's got to be because they're all incels.
Right.
It's got to be because they just outright hate women. It can't possibly be because there's been an environment that's been telling them that we hate you. Can't possibly be that. It can't be society or culture or the colleges or liberal. It can't be any of those factors, or even how we treat the men who we think don't check off all our boxes. It can't be none of that. It's got to be because of this Netflix series, and now we need a policy to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's the level of thinking that I want all of us to start to get better at when we watch anything on social media, anything on streaming services, because I would argue much of the things that's impacting us and influencing the quote unquote gender war is not even coming from in here. It's coming from what we're seeing on screens and on these computers. When I walk around in everyday life, men and women still open the door for each other. A woman's in trouble, men are still going to rush to help her.
Yeah, that's going away. But yeah.
A black man, a white man is hurt in some way.
At this point, we almost have more interactions through phones. I think over 50% of communication is digital now.
Whoever the race of the person is, they're still going to try to intervene and help them. I'm trying to lift a heavy box. My white neighbor going to come and lift it up. Somebody who's gay or trans, if they need help or support, it's still happening. Hate exists, I know that. But I'm telling you, the social media, the trends, what's going viral.
But the challenge is young people, that's their reality because most of their interactions are digital, at least half.
Actually, 100% a reflection of what's actually happening in most of our lives. You're actually not walking around and most men are spitting at you, calling you names, attacking you. That's not happening in modernity, not in mass. The majority, a huge percentage of the men that's a threat, they're arrested. They got records.
No, absolutely. Like I think obviously social media makes it look like
Magnifies.
everyone is out to get you, and that's why we're having something problem.
So now adolescence, as true as it is about exposing something that a lot of people didn't know, what's the takeaway?
That this is happening everywhere.
This is happening everywhere. It's crazy. It's so much going. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. The U.S. and our thing of violence, we have the monopoly, it seems like, on school violence. It's insane. We're not using knives. We're using guns.
Yes.
And much of it is in response to being bullied or being radicalized with some particular political or religious ideology. That's usually what it is. It doesn't make it any better, but it's really not heavily connected. No, there is no significant data that shows that this is happening in mass. I'm telling you, if you went to the data and looked at UK stats of who's the primary groups doing the stabbings and the knifings, it's not who you saw on the show.
Right.
It's not who you saw. We don't have to go political or go into who is and who isn't doing. It's not who they showed on the show. You have a market of white males who feel so angry and disenfranchised and feeling like they're...
I can't imagine why. Liberals have told white males that they're not valuable and they're the root of all evil. Where people are just jealous of white males, to be honest.